All right. All right. So welcome everybody to today's LinkedIn Tuesday. Today we have Kurt VandeMotter with us, who will be talking to us about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. Please note that this event will be recorded and the recording may be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Comments in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. So please use the chat box to enter your question. And to give you a little bit of background, LinkedIn Tuesdays was started by Jeff Morris. He founded Career DFW in 2008. Then in 2012, he launched careerusa.org because he saw a greater need to help job seekers around the country. He also wrote the book, What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know, and he's led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007. He's also been a member of the PIT Crew, which is the practice interview team, since 2017. As for me, I'm your guest host. My name is Patty Bashy. I'm currently a job seeker and I'm looking for account director roles, working at a marketing research company, working remotely or hybrid here in Phoenix. For our esteemed guests and presenters, we have Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt VandeMotter, who join us on a rotating basis each month for their different viewpoints on LinkedIn and how to help you in your job search. So with that, as you know, we've got LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 o'clock Central Time. On Wednesdays, we have the interviewing, that's the practice interview team. And then on Fridays, we have the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. On Wednesday, the practice interview team meets at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano. It's in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month. On the fourth Wednesdays of the month, it's via Zoom. So you can watch how somebody goes through an interview. There is a panel interview, and that panel will give them feedback on their performance. So that helps them prepare for their interview. On Fridays, we have Walt Glass and Matt Keelan, who are guest hosting while Jeff is recuperating. And they have the North Dallas Plano group. And this Friday, Jeff Crilly will be the presenter, and he's going to be talking about free publicity. So with that, also, you might want to join the Career DFW and careerusa.org LinkedIn groups. We have over 15,100 members in the careerdfw.org page, and we also have several members in the careerusa.org page. If you'd like to view previous recordings, you can go to the careerusa.org YouTube page and click on playlists. From there, you can view a full playlist, and this is a sample of what one would look like. And you can see all the different presentations that we've had in the past. We do not record Terry Sullivan's presentation, so his presentations will not be on here. We also have a Career USA mailing list. So if you are not receiving emails about our workshops, you can scan the QR code, or you can send an email to Career USA plus subscribe at groups.io so that you can get on the email list. Also, please note that Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations. So please consider making a donation when you get your next job. And if your new company makes matching donations, we are registered. If you do not see us listed, let us know who they use. So with that, we have Kurt with us today, and Kurt has a proven ability to match talented individuals with the best opportunities in unique roles in niche industry segments. His intuitive and outgoing style helps Kurt immediately connect with diverse business leaders. His coaching approach is very open, personable, and interactive, which differentiates him from other employment executives. This same passionate approach is what makes him the ideal speaker to galvanize and give positive energy to your next meeting or event. His 30 years of experience provides your audience with engaging real-life stories and robust content that can be smartly applied to further executive level learning. He was recently recognized by Forbes as one of the top search firms in the US, nominated by his peers, candidates, and companies. And so, with that, I will turn it over to Kurt and stop sharing.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask Patty to be my wingman as well, and keep an eye on that chat box. Um, if anybody's got any questions or there's anything that they want to talk about, throw it into there, and Patty and I will work together to get those questions answered. Some of you have met me before, and others haven't. But I'll stick to my notes per se. I think the most important thing about the next hour we spend together is that this is not about me, it's about you. It's about everybody on the call here. You've all selected this hour to spend with me, and you've got questions probably you're bringing to the table. It might be that you don't know how to communicate with recruiters, or you're trying to figure out how you can improve your LinkedIn profile, or it may be one of assortment of that and any other thing. But that's what I'm here to do today, most importantly. So if you've got questions, make sure you throw them into that chat box and we'll get to them. Don't wait till the end when we've got an open mic, because I will drop what I'm talking to make sure that you get the answers to the questions that you've got, so that this is a productive time for you and everybody on the call. Fair enough? There's no stupid questions in this search business. Most of you that are on this call are actively looking. You're an active candidate. You're actively looking for new opportunities. And so if that's the case, I hope that some of the ideas and suggestions that I can offer you today will help accelerate your conversations with companies, or give you some ideas of things that maybe you haven't been doing that you need to be doing. Right now, the first place that I like to start off with kind of defining what the different kinds of recruiters that there are, Patty. So there's three kinds of recruiters that you're going to encounter as a candidate. First and foremost, there's internal recruiters, and these are the people that work for companies. Okay, these are people that work for AT&T. As an example, I was there for a number of years, and we probably had maybe 200 recruiters at the time. There were people that were working on cell towers, they were working on retail, there were people that were working on technology, call center. So there were a lot of recruiters that were out looking for different people to fill jobs around the country. Those are internal recruiters. They know the role pretty well in most cases. I would tell you that in a lot of cases, these recruiters are a little bit younger. And there's nothing wrong with age in this category. All that I encourage you to do is that sometimes you've got to coach them a little bit, if they're an internal recruiter, about what your background is and what you've really done, because they have a tendency to be myopic and not necessarily the most creative individuals in trying to help an organization solve an issue. They don't have a tendency to look outside the box because they're working for a manager or a vice president, director, and that director's told them exactly what they want. So they don't present candidates that are outside the box generally, because they're trying to meet the needs and satisfy the needs of that executive. Then there's contingent recruiters, two types of outside recruiters. Contingent recruiters, these are people that we all do the same thing. We help fill jobs, but contingent recruiters, they don't get paid any money until they fill the job. So they have a tendency to work pretty quickly. They are going to maybe not ask as many questions, because they want to get your resume in front of the customer, if you're a fit for that role, as quickly as possible. Then there's retained search executives. That's what I do. Companies hire me, they pay me a fee up front to work for them and to fill jobs. So when I'm working for an organization, I definitely look outside the box. I definitely cut the edges of the organization, because I'm not the one that's making the final decision. I'm not the CFO of the company, or I'm not the CEO of the organization. I'm not the owner. So I can't assume that I know exactly and everything for what that company's looking for. So in addition to looking for skill sets, in addition to trying to figure out what problems this company's trying to solve so they can ask really good questions to candidates, I'm going to keep my blinders off, because I don't know where I'm going to find this person, and I don't know exactly where they're at, meaning where they're at in their career, or where they're at in salary, or where they're at in anything else. So, um, I think there's some notes that popped up there. In-house recruiters have a tendency, these people, they may be working on 30 or 40 jobs at a time. Okay. And you might think to yourself, wow, that's a lot, but it's this is a fact. If they're working in retail, they may have, 20 retail jobs in Dallas and 20 in Austin that they're trying to fill. So keep in mind when you're communicating with these people that they've got a lot on their plate, they're juggling a lot of things, and they're doing a lot of different things. When you move to contingent and remove to retained, we have a tendency to keep a lot fewer jobs on our pallet. Um, for those of you that want to know what's going on in the industry right now, what's going on in hiring, recruiting, I will tell you that we're in a slow period right now. So when things are really busy and on my desk, I may be working on 3 or 4, sometimes 5, 6 jobs at a time. Keeping in mind that they're all at different levels. Some are getting offers, and some I'm just starting the searches. But right now, I'm not working on anything, and I haven't worked on anything for about the last 6 months. So if you feel like the companies aren't hiring and it's taking a lot longer, and people are saying they're going to hire a job and then they put it on hold, everything that you might be hearing out there is reality. And the reason that I can say that it's reality as well is I'm a single shingle, so a lot of people would discount that, and I understand that, and I would if I was a candidate. But because Forbes magazine finds me, or is given me the ranking as 11th best search firm in the United States and #1 in Texas, my phone rings, just because companies do through their research, call me to find out what I do and how I do it. And I'm not getting those phone calls. Many of my recruiter friends that are in the business as well are not getting calls these days as well. So I think that just in general, hiring is slow right now. But with that caveat, I'm going to throw out the fact that I don't want any one of you to slow down, stop, or wait, to continue your search. During the holidays, many candidates come to me and they say, from Thanksgiving into the New Year's, I'm just going to shut it down because nobody hires during that period. And I would argue with you that there's many companies that make a lot of job offers during that time period. And so don't shut it down because I told you that companies aren't hiring right now. There are companies that are filling jobs. It may not be the exact job you're looking for. It may not be the exact location. It may not be the exact salary. Companies are hiring. So don't give up, because we want to keep momentum going in our job search so that when things pick up here, and we will likely see the light or start to see light after the election, we want to make sure that our saw is really sharp and that we haven't slowed down our interviewing tactics, and we haven't slowed down our conversations with people, and people aren't going to have to assume whether Mick is looking for a new job or not, because he's maintained a very active voice on LinkedIn and everything that he does so that people will know that he is available when they have an opportunity. I'm going to stop right there. Patty, are there any questions in the chat box that we need to get
Yeah,
to?
there is a question.
Okay.
When you connect with someone, how do you sort through their connects to find high valuable recruiters slash target companies connections in order to ask for invites?
Yep. So as you build your network, and I would tell you that everybody on this call, your network is your network. Your network, or your network is your net worth. Okay. Your network is your net worth, meaning that you all have a lot of contacts in LinkedIn and you're trying to continue to build that network. So whether you become a complete open networker, I would network with as many people as you possibly can. Um, Working with recruiters, I would tell you that you just need to be cautious. And the reason I say cautious is I don't want you to stop calling or reaching out to recruiters, but at the same time, I don't want you to have hurt feelings if somebody doesn't get back to you in a timely fashion. Because, as I mentioned before, in both cases of recruiters, retained and contingent recruiters, those are the recruiters you're going to try to build relationships with. we get paid by companies, not candidates. And so there's going to be times when a lot of recruiters don't reply to messages or don't reply back to you or don't return a phone call. And it's not because they don't want to talk to you. It's just because they probably aren't working on a search that has anything close to what your background is. But still continue to focus on and reach out where you think it's valuable. Certainly the time that it's most valuable to find a recruiter is when you know there's an open role. Who's working on that search? Is the executive going to fill it himself or herself? Or is there a recruiter, an internal or external recruiter that's working on it? So that's your first homework and assignment. Every time you find a job that's open, who's working on that search? Then you want to accelerate your conversation and explore into your network who you can introduce yourself to or who might be able to introduce you to somebody in that organization. Okay. Does that help?
Yep, I think that's great. Diane had just mentioned that she received two offers in December when she looked last time. So
Yep.
not to take your foot off of the gas during the holidays.
Absolutely. And Diane, that is so common. It's also common even during these times of times where we might say that we're in a economic slowdown or uncertainty. People are getting multiple offers, and that's just, I don't know why it is, but that's the way it happens. And it's great for you as a candidate. But let me share with you what you as a candidate and other candidates on this call can also take to learn as well is that it's important that you communicate very clearly with recruiters through that process as well. Okay. I wouldn't recommend to Diane that if we were back in the time when she was looking in December where she got her two offers, that she would, be henny penny and tell everybody that she's got those offers, but selectively at the appropriate time, you do want to make sure your recruiter that you're working with knows that you are actively pursuing or considering or getting or have received or you they've given you a verbal and you're waiting for the written to give them notice of that during the process. There's nothing worse than a recruiter, and it's only happened to me occasionally because I try to emphasize with candidates how important it is that you keep me posted on what's going on. That doesn't mean that I'm going to share anything with the company or the family, okay? But just give me a chance to determine with you when we want to make that call and when we want to make that decision so that we don't miss out on something that could be going on. So keep your recruiter partners in line. Now, I don't think that it's a need or appropriate for you to say to your recruiter, if you're working on an opportunity, you're going through the process, you're about to get a job offer, then you need to give them a daily update. I'm interviewing at this company, I'm interviewing at that company, or I think I might get an interview at this company, I might get an interview here. This company looked at my profile. I don't think that detail is necessary. But when you get to the point where you're accepting or getting ready to accept an offer, you've gotten an offer, or you're getting a verbal offer, then you need to let the other recruiter know so that they can give their client the same chance to accelerate or de-accelerate. Does that helpful, Diane?
Yeah, I think that's good advice. The other thing that I've seen and experienced is sometimes recruiters, when I've gotten on the calls with them, they would say, well, can you tell me, are you in the process of already getting another,
Mm.
like, where are you? Are you further along with any other offers, anything I should know about type of
Yeah,
thing? So what kind of information should we be giving
yeah,
that
that's great.
recruiter?
I always I always ask the question. Um, you know, I this is a really interesting opportunity. We're just starting out in the process. Um, but what's your palette look like today? Are you interviewing? Are there other things that are going on? And then I don't generally lean in on them to say, from this point forward, give me any information that's going on as your in relationship to your search. Until after I start to see green light signals, then I tell my candidate, this is not uncommon for you. You're a great candidate that you're going to receive multiple offers through this process. And I don't want you to stop interviewing. I want you to keep talking to other companies because it really is about the candidate. I'm not maybe every recruiter sees it in that way, but you know, I would love to place Diane, but Diane's got family and friends and other commitments in her life likely. And I don't want to keep her back from receiving a great opportunity from another company that may help her reach that dream or accelerate that curve quicker than somewhere else. So, as hard as it is sometimes for recruiters to say, "Yeah, that is a better offer," just keep the line of communication open, and transparency is best. The little least transparency is the best.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. I don't have any other questions at this time, so
While we're talking about that, though, I think this is a valuable subject opportunity for everybody on the call. Is the one thing that, as a recruiter, one of the things that candidates make, one of the biggest mistakes that candidates make is that, especially when times aren't as active as they normally are, we might be in a slower period. One of the mistakes candidates do is that don't listen or don't ask really good questions up front, and they have a tendency to just kind of vomit on the recruiter because they're so excited that somebody called them and they're calling about a job that sounds like it's a good fit for what you're looking for. Because most recruiters are going to open it up and say, "Hey, June, this is Kurt. I'm a recruiter and I'm working on an opportunity for this role. And I found your background on LinkedIn. Do you have 12 minutes so we can talk so I can learn a little bit more about what you're doing and what's going on in your career at this point?" So that's where I always start my conversations to try to figure out what's the pulse for the candidate, what's going on. Are they actively looking? Are they a passive candidate? Many times candidates that I'm reaching out to are actively working. They're not actively looking, but they want to have a conversation. What's the role? Where is it at? They're using it as a benchmark for their own role, and that's brilliant for them to do that. So they want to know salary and location and travel and life, life balance, work balance. I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to get that same information out of the candidate. Okay. So just listen to the recruiter before you tell them about your background, because um, I always, and I do this 100% of the time. At least I don't think I've ever called anybody out, but I'll listen for about 20 minutes and then I'll stop the candidate and say, "Okay, would you like for me to tell you a little bit more about what we're looking for so that you can start creating stories and telling me things that are more relevant than just telling me what you think I want to know?" And then that shuts them up. And now I can say, "Okay, what I'm really looking for is a candidate that's done this and this and this. And these are the problems that I need this executive to do. This organization has got an inside sales organization, but they're not a professional. They're not trained. They're not using current tools on inside sales. But we also need to develop an outside sales organization that can do this and this and this. And this role right now is in this community. And let's now talk about your background. Does that sound like anything that you've done in your background in the past?" And first question a lot of candidates want to know is, "Well, what's the company?" And I try to say, "Well, depending on the search, it's a confidential search. I can't tell you that until later date. Or I just want to know a little bit more about your background before I tell you the name of that company so that I don't waste your time in sense of knowing that you've done some of these things in the past. So tell me stories about what you've done that match up to what I'm looking for." And then generally in that 12 minutes, and I know that it's only a short period of time, I always ask the question, "Give me an idea what's your target salary? Where are you at in compensation right now?" I share with you a story about a candidate that I talked to a couple of weeks ago, and this executive had been in the they've been in the wood business. So they built doors and wood products for big organizations like Lowe's and Home Depot and national companies like that. And this executive had done very well. And so remember, I'm not interviewing him for a job. He's just called me and I'm coaching him on what's going on. And he's having a hard time because he's a little bit older in his career, but he and his wife have just had a baby. And he decided when they had that baby that he was going to leave his career and take a year off. And now he's trying to get back into work. And people that he thought would answer his phone call every day, any day, are ghosting him. And so he's having a hard time getting traction. And so one of the questions I asked him was, what, when people ask you, what do you want to make? What's your salary? He said, well, that's a hard question, Kurt, because my salary is $589. And I said, wow, that's a hard conversation. If that's the number you're going to stick to, you need to do a lot of research up front when you're talking to people to make sure that whether or not that's this compensation that they've got for you, because that's a big piece. That's a big number. If you're talking about a sales role and you're talking about a compensation of 589, then you're probably at a million and a half if this company's growing at that rate because there's no acceleration. He said, no, 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 my base salary is only $150,000, but I've done so well over the last 3 years that I've gotten it up to five. I've gotten my bonuses up to 500. And I said, well, dude, that's completely different. Okay.
Yeah, that's OTE, not like base, right?
Right.
So,
So I would be able to find you, you can have conversations with recruiters about a lot of 150, $180,000 jobs. The question I'm going to ask you right now is, are you going to be happy with an organization that can only pay you 180 and the bonus is only, let's only say half of that? So now you're only 270. Are you going to be happy versus that 880 or the 580 that you were against? That's the question you've got to answer, and only you can answer for yourself. So again, be realistic when you're talking to recruiters. Don't use the phrase, well, I don't want to be desperate, but I know times are hard. Have a number and be able to tell them that number. Patty was very thorough on the practice interview. Okay, if you haven't been through that and you're looking for new opportunities, I would highly recommend you get on their coordinates and sign up for some of their practice interviews. But this is one where I highly recommend everybody on this call, you write your answer out. You know the questions coming. What is your base salary target? What's your compensation target? I can ask you that question 40 different ways, but I'm trying to get to one thing. So write that answer out, practice it. Sit down at the dinner table with your husband, your partner, and practice that out so it rolls right off your tongue. But don't discount yourself. Well, my last role I was at 150, but I'd take 120 because my husband's still got a really good job. No, you're at 150. That's what you want to make. That's what's going to make you happy. Okay. So don't discount yourself, even during hard times. Just put the number out there. The recruiter will tell you right up front, because I'm very honest with my candidates. Wow, you have a great background, but this company's got a target base for this role of only $110,000. I mean, you got a great background. And this is where, as a recruiter, I will make the decision with you. You know, I don't think we should throw the baby away with the bathwater. You're making more than what they've got targeted, but the candidates that they're seeing at $110,000 don't have your experience. Let's see if we can get them to commit to an interview, knowing that you're at 150 and that that's what you want to make, and see if we can have a conversation where it goes from there. Because when it comes to compensation today, there's a lot of creative ways that we can get to candidates' numbers. Okay. So I know it's a hard question, Patty. I beat it up to death here. I didn't mean to, but I want to make sure that everybody feels really comfortable. But the best thing you can do is, there's very few times in as a candidate looking for a job that we can script what we want to say. That question about salary is one. Write it out, practice, memorize it, throw it away. You'll never need it again, but you'll have it at the top of your mind so that when it comes out, 30-second elevator pitch, have it memorized. Okay. I tell a story about a friend of mine that I took to a networking event before pre-COVID. And I told him, I'm going to introduce you to about 14 people today. Make sure you got your elevator pitch up. And he was like, yeah, for sure. You don't know 14 people at that meeting. Well, I probably introduced him to 20 people, and he didn't have his elevator pitch ready. And it was embarrassing for me because I thought that after three, he'd get it right. But the bottom line is, when you meet somebody for the first time, you want to let it roll off your tongue, who you are, what your brand is, what you've done. 30 seconds with your name at the beginning, your name at the end, if it's appropriate, to make sure that people know who you are and what you've done and the companies and the brands. 30 seconds, that's it. But where else can you use it? When you're at networking events, that's great. The next best place is when you're in an interview and the interviewer, you're super nervous going in, and you shouldn't be, because you've got a seat at this table. Okay, you've got a part of this decision. Um, but you're nervous, and they say, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." That 30-second elevator pitch just rolls off your tongue, and it's not about, "Well, let me tell you, I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and my mother put me in cloth diapers for the first year." So you tell them exactly what you've done and who you are and what your strategic position are, and they'll know your brand immediately. Okay. So those are some hints and suggestions as far as how to communicate, but um, don't panic when that call comes in the recruiter. You're driving down the highway at 75 miles an hour and the phone call comes in and it's a number you don't recognize and it's not a spam call. Maybe you let it go to voicemail and pull off the road and then call that person back. Or you slowly get off the road and take the call, but get somewhere quick where you can take the call in a quiet place and you're not distracted by a lot of energy or a lot of things around you. Again, a big mistake that candidates make because they feel desperate that I got to take this phone call. You don't have to take that phone call. If they're calling you, they want to talk. They'll want to talk to you in 10 minutes as much as they wanted to talk to you 4 minutes ago. Okay, I promise you, if a recruiter's called you, I think 99.9% of the time, there's something that they've got, they want to talk to you, have a conversation with, and a call back to that recruiter 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes later is going to be just as good as it was as you were going up the tollway 75 miles an hour. Okay.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question going back to like the salary business, and then there is a question in the chat. So
Okay.
going back to the salary question, I had a recruiter that actually asked me my salary history, my last salary that I made. And then I said, "Isn't this an illegal question to ask me?" And they said, "Not in Arizona and not in Texas." So do we just tell them our salary history or just say give them a range?
No, I think you've got to give them a range. Here's where history is going to come into play. Okay. Um, So, as a retained search executive, I have a tendency to do higher end searches. Okay, CFOs, CMOs, CEOs, and so where salary history is going to come in, I've done probably 5 of these in the last 2 year and a half, where I'm working with because I do a lot of family business, and they've never hired a CEO. And I'm telling them that they need to give the salary for this executive. You want them to come over and be successful with your organization, the base you've got to give them is $300,000. And then the bonus on top of that's going to be this. Now, I'm not giving them that data, the family, the organization. We've talked about it that this role is between $200,000 and $300,000. I am talking to them about the final candidate, and we've been talking salary all the way along. Okay. But now the family says to me, "That's a lot of money. Would you go back and get his salary history for us so that we can see exactly where and how he earned that income for the past?" You better be honest with me at that point, because I'm going to go job for job. What were you making? What was your bonus? Give me an idea of give me an estimate of your total 401 or your total compensation. That's when you do need to probably be upfront. But salary history to me, if you were calling me as a recruiter and you said, "Kurt, what's your salary history?" Here's what I would say. That's a great question. My target is between a base of 150 and $170,000 with a bonus that's equal to that. I'd also like a 401k matching plan. And at this point in my career, I'm looking for 3 to 4 weeks vacation. Um, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as it relates to that. So I'd just now, maybe you don't give them the vacation, maybe you don't give them the bonus piece of it, but I would just be really upfront target. So when they say history, I wouldn't sit there and spew off of all of my histories. I would just give them that number, that ballpark. If they want to know more, then they're going to ask it. But a good friend of mine's in recruiting, and this is why I think this is a better way to do it, but I wouldn't argue with this person in any way. This other person might have an hour and a half conversation with you about the role and what you've done and all that, really trying to get to know you. And that's a really nice thing. And it's a really warm feeling. And you feel really good about that. But then at the end, can you tell me about your salary? My target salary is $200,000. Oh gosh, you have a great background. The company I'm working for is only going to pay 100,000. Well, we didn't we just waste an hour and a half of our time? Because
Yeah.
you would have been able to go play pickleball or play golf in my case, or do something with that hour. So I have a tendency to ask that question up front early in the conversation, but all I'm looking for is a ballpark so that we can say, yeah, you're in the range. Okay. And at that point, I always tell candidates, you got to leave this up to me. I'm not going to leave any money on the table. Okay. And it's not because I want to charge a higher fee so I get a higher commission. I do not do that. I've never done it and I never will do it. But I also know that the candidate that I'm working for has a family and has a life of their own. And so I'm going to make sure that they get what they deserve for that role. And I'll do the negotiations for that candidate so that they don't have to feel awkward or to do that heavy lifting themselves.
Yeah.
But the better information I've got up front, the better information I got up front is, and again, I could tell you stories, but there was one situation where I was working with a candidate who was an attorney. This family was in the law business, and he was only making $140,000. By the time we got to the end of the negotiations, and I'll tell you the punchline before we get there, I let the candidate go 45 days into the process because of his inability to be honest and negotiate. By the time I let him go, the total package was a $1.2 million. Okay.
Wow.
He was making $120,000. And we had driven the price up for this client up so high that I told the client, we can't do this any further. And so the client was mad as a hornet's nest at me, fired me, but then brought me back the next day. And the candidate that we put in the job has just crushed it. The other candidate, he would have fired him in 30 days because the guy, all he did was want to negotiate. That's all everything we talked about, all he wanted to negotiate, but he wouldn't do the heavy lifting. He wouldn't do the work. He wouldn't provide me with the documentation. All he would tell me was, that's not right. And I want to negotiate. And so when I let him go and I told him it's over, Eric, we're not going to have this conversation anymore. He was devastated. And I said, you're a shitty negotiator. And, I'm sorry it went on for as long as it did because this was ridiculous. But the candidate I put in there got paid a lot less. So I didn't get hardly the commission I would have if Eric had been a good candidate. Anyway, it's all fun.
Another question that came in, do the companies keep a standard list of retained search firms or executives? And similarly, do the retained search firms executives have a standard slash preferred list of companies that they serve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an open book, so I'll work for anybody. I don't do a lot of selling, so I'm not out there marketing myself. I do these presentations. I do a lot of coaching with candidates that are actively looking just to make sure that they don't, fall off the edge. Try to give some ideas and suggestions as I'm doing here today with you all. Um, but no, I don't. I think that what we could talk about. We've got about 20 minutes left, Patty, and we haven't gotten into
I
LinkedIn
know.
yet. How's that?
I said, I know. Maybe we need to have you get into LinkedIn too.
Yeah. So why don't we go there? But let's just talk about how LinkedIn got there. So I'll share my screen, and I'm going to go to this page here. Okay. Can everybody see that now? So one of
Yes.
the questions that companies ask me when they're interviewing me whether they should hire me to fill a job or not is they ask me is, well, can you tell me about your network? And what I try to convince companies is that if you're going to hire me to fill this job, you don't want me to specifically have a network of people that are just the best CEOs or the best CFOs out there because they may be the best CFOs or the best CEOs for a particular problem that a company's trying to solve, but maybe not for you. Because what I told you earlier is absolutely accurate, and that's where I start every search with: is what's the problem that we're trying to solve? Why are we making this hire? Is it a replacement? But as we're replacing the CEO, what do we want the CEO to bring to the table? What's the experience? What are the biggest challenges that your brand and your company is going to have over the next year? We want to find a candidate that's done that work, has done that heavy lifting, has that experience. We don't want somebody doing it for the first time in this $150 million family business that's been around for 100 years. Okay. We want somebody that's done it before so that they can do it for us again here. Okay. So that list of candidates isn't at my forefront. What happened a long time ago? I don't know how long LinkedIn's been around. Korn Ferry realized the same thing. So they went to LinkedIn and they said, LinkedIn, we have an active list of candidates, but every night when we shut off our computers, we turn off our lights, that list is out of date. Okay. Because candidates move around, they change careers, they change and update their resumes, but we don't always get it until they become unemployed again. So, can you help us build a database that will become our applicant tracking system per se? So inevitably they did, and that's where LinkedIn came from. But then they took it a step further and they built this product called LinkedIn Recruiter. Okay, so I'm a single shingle, but I pay a lot of money for LinkedIn, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by telling you the number, but it's a lot of money. It's more than $1,000, and it's less than 100,000 or less than $25,000, but it's a lot of money every year that I pay to use this product. Um, I'll be completely transparent to tell you that I'm likely not going to continue after the first of the year because I think there's a lot of new tools out there that can help recruiters, and I'm going to see what it looks like from the other side. But so when recruiters are using LinkedIn Recruiter, this product was developed on a separate set of APIs. So you've got LinkedIn Recruiter up here, and LinkedIn is the database down here. You are in LinkedIn. You are the candidates. You're in the database, okay? When I'm in LinkedIn and I'm looking at candidates, you cannot see me anywhere, okay? I don't show up on anybody's radar. Hang on just 1 second, okay? Hey, Pam, could you bring me a glass of water, please? Um, so you can't see me at all, okay? And the reason is because when I'm conducting a search, I might look at 250 profiles in a day. And every one of those candidates could see that I was looking at their profiles and they called me or texted me or emailed me and said, "Hey, I saw you looked at my profile. Here's my resume." I'd never get anything done. So we are completely invisible. And the day that that changes will be the day that most recruiters leave LinkedIn because they like they like having that
The
that
anonymity.
yeah, exactly. So here's what we look at when we're looking at a dashboard. So what we're going to do is go in and start looking at some profiles. Patty, give me a job title of what you want to search for today.
Account manager.
Account manager. So you can see here as I type that there's a lot of different names that account manager can be called. Thank you. So I can click on account manager, but I probably also want to click on key account manager. Okay. And this is where when I said earlier on the call to you all that when you're dealing with younger recruiters, if you're submitting an application for a job that um, is a key account executive, let's call it key account executive, but you've been an account manager your whole career or mid-career, your last job, you might want to change your resume to reflect the title for what they're searching for. Because if you don't, their applicant tracking system is likely to kick you out because you don't have the same title. Just think about it, okay? So I can put in key account manager, and then I can put in account executive, senior major account. So I've got a number of titles. Where in the country do we want to look for this person?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix. If I could spell. So I can put in Greater Phoenix, Phoenix, Arizona, I generally go with the greater area because similar Phoenix is a sprawling area and there's a lot of little towns around Phoenix, but people want to be considered for roles even if they live in the outskirts. They're willing to make that drive into the city or they want to know about it if they may be a hybrid role. Okay. So we selected the city. We know what kind of role we're looking for. Okay. Now, if I want to, I can put in skills and assessments. So this may be, I'm looking for people that do new business development. Okay. So that may be a key word. I could go in if this was if it was a hardware company, they were selling hardware software in the computer industry. I could put in those kinds of companies. If it was a consumer packaged goods company, I could put in those companies. Or I can put in a list of keywords. I can build a Boolean where I put in keywords of what I'm looking for. I want this person to be a key account manager, not um, not not sales, not business development, existing business. So I can build a whole Boolean and throw it in there, and LinkedIn will help scrub that whole database. But for this sake, when a recruiter starts a search, we like to start big. We like to put big boundaries around it and then whittle it down. If I'm starting a search and I've only got 8 people, I know that I need to talk to more than 8 people before this company is going to want to start interviewing candidates. I got to open it up. Okay. So in this particular case, there's a lot of candidates in the search. Okay. I'm going to hit go. Let's see. I got to move y'all. I got to go search over here. So it showed 19,000 people. Okay. But what you're going to see here is 6,100 of these people are open to work. Okay. 2,900 of these people are active in their talent search. So they're out there talking, they're communicating, they're using LinkedIn. 19 people, because I've done searches in Phoenix, I could rediscover. These are people that I've talked to before. And then the 19 people are interested in my brand. Okay. I always start with this open to work because some of this active talent's going to be in there anyway. Okay. So I start big. You've got questions, throw them in the chat. And now I'm going to start just scrolling through here. Now, 6,000 people is a lot of people. So I might want to figure out a way to tighten that search up a little bit. So just for fun, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in here keywords, um, consumer goods. Okay. Just for grins. Okay, now it took
Oh,
it down to 361 people.
look, there's
Okay,
me.
there you go. So I can look at, I'm going to go right past Patty, but but now I can look at 361 people. Okay. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for consumer packaged goods, somebody that's a self starter, somebody that can do new business development. And I'm just scrolling through candidates, y'all. I'm just scrolling through. When I decide I see a brand that I like, okay, this individual, Robert, he may be on the call today. He's in Scottsdale. Roland Burger, I don't know that brand. PWC, I do know that. I decide to click on his profile. I get to see his longer profile. Okay. So now what am I looking for? Well, first and foremost, it looks like 2 years, 4 months. He is still a partner, global head of consumer goods with Roland Burger. Okay. So he's not an active candidate. Okay. So that I see immediately. Okay. I also note, and I scanned it before I even looked at it, that I have no contact information. No reason for him to give us his contact information because he's not an active candidate, but he hasn't given us his phone number or his email address. But I like the fact that he was with this company 2 years, he was there 11 years. God, he's got some good experience. I only have one option now. Okay. If I want to communicate with Robert, I only have one option, and that's to go in here and send him an email. Okay. I customize an email based on what I want it to say. I can save that so that it makes it super easy. I can send a lot of these out every day. Okay. If I'm trying to create a conversation with Robert, it helps me with AI write all those emails or whatever I want, or I can write it in Word and cut and paste it over here. But at the end of the day, I want to send him an email. I'm trying to get him to give me a call back so that we can have a conversation. But let me tell you, friends, only 8% of candidates reply to in-mails. Only 8% of candidates reply to in-mails. So thankfully, my numbers are a little higher. I'm up in the 18% category, but that's still awful. I send 100 emails out in a 3 hour span. I can only expect to get 18 of those back. Sometimes candidates send me a note back a year later. Hey, this looks like a great opportunity. Well, that was a great opportunity back then, Jack, but darn it, I filled it a year ago. You should start looking at your in-mail a little bit more often. So if you're an active candidate, here's what I want you to do. Every one of you, I want you to go in tonight. If you're an active candidate, you're looking for a new opportunity, in your summary section right here, I want you to put your email address and your phone number. Whether you put it at the top or you put it down here, I want to make it really easy for recruiters to reach out to you and talk to you immediately. Okay. If you follow that advice, this will accelerate your search because recruiters like to talk to candidates. What did I tell you earlier? I'm doing a search. I'm really not, but I'm conducting a search. I send 100 emails out. Only 18 of those are going to get back to me. My computer will shut off the minute I find a candidate that's given me their email address and phone number because I'll pick up the phone and I'll call them directly. This is what I want to do. I want to talk to candidates. I don't like having to do the sourcing to find candidates and wait for them to reply back to me. So give us your contact information right here in the summary section so that we can find and call you directly immediately. You're not giving us your home address. We're not coming to your house. We don't know the ages of your kids. We don't know anything else, but we know we can reach you at this number or this email address. Okay. The second thing, Robert's done, again, he's not an active candidate, but he's done a pretty good job of using his summary section and using keywords and telling us what he's done. Okay. So good data, good candidate. Let's go search for some more. Okay. Let me
So
close that.
definitely we should, you recommend listing the phone number so the recruiter could call you immediately instead of sending an email. And they should put that in the about section, which is on your screen called the summary section.
Correct. Yep. Oh, I can't get out of here. It's all
I think you have
frozen
to
up.
hit close on the compose message.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah, you have to
Oh,
say
oh,
okay at the top. It says it'll discard without sending. Then I think it'll be back to where you need it to be. Or you can
where?
open up a new tab.
Oh, okay. Here. Okay. There we go. Okay. 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 So now we can, what I want to look for now is somebody that's got, um, so these are all candidates. You can see I can scroll through these pretty quickly if I'm looking for candidates. Now here's a candidate, Janice. She is open. See here, she's open to work. Whoop. Let's go down here. Whoa. Slow down. You know these people. Please don't tell them I'm picking on them. But here's Janice. She says right here that she is at the bottom. She's open to work. See it on our screen right here. She's open to work. Okay. She doesn't have that green wreath around her head. Okay. If you're open to work and you're actively looking, why do you put that green wreath on? I'll tell you why, real simply. You don't know who's looking at LinkedIn and who's looking at your profile. And I could tell you a story about it, but I won't. I'm just telling you that if you're actively looking, put your ego aside and put that green wreath on because there's people that are looking at your profiles that may know about opportunities, but if they don't know that you're looking, they may not offer that opportunity to you. Okay. So it's a great way to generate more activity by putting that green wreath around and then make sure that you are also putting your contact information in there. Okay.
So Kurt, for them to
Yeah.
show up in your search, is it the green banner? Is it just saying open to work? What indication is it that it would show up that they're looking for work for
Right
you?
here at the bottom of her summary, it says open to work.
So she's got that set in her settings,
Yep,
probably open to work to show to recruiters only or something.
correct. That's correct. Now she has given me her email address. Okay, so let's give her a little bit of credit. She's given us her email address right here at the top that I can cut and paste and send Janice a note and say, Janice, We need to talk about this opportunity. It may be a fit for you or somebody you know in your network. So she has given us her contact information, but she hasn't used, again, open to work. There's more that she could do to build out her profile. Put that green wreath on. Sorry. And then I think that candidates miss out on not in these, this, she was with retail CPG.
No,
Why
she's with
wouldn't you
Symphony
use that?
AI.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you use that section to give me more information about what your accomplishments were and what you did and what were some of the problems that you solved? Adding again more keywords because you've learned today recruiters search for keywords. When a company gives me a job description, after I've gone through the job description and had a conversation with them for a long time, I develop my own list of keywords as far as what this company is looking for. And I throw those into either a Boolean or individually into LinkedIn to try to find the candidates that might be a fit for this role. So keywords in your LinkedIn profile are absolutely critical to you, again, making yourself more searchable for recruiters that are looking for candidates that fit the bill of what you've done. Any other questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's one. What is your perspective on short-term contracts? Do recruiters typically view them as a red flag, or are they more widely accepted in today's job market?
100%. Great question. Go for it. The only thing that makes it difficult is you get that job, and by you're doing that, you got to continue to look for your job. So make sure as you carve out time in your schedule and your family and your priorities that if you're taking that contract job, it doesn't become a 60-hour work job week. And now that's preventing you from finding that full-time job. So put it in boundaries, make sure that you stay to those boundaries. So many of us on this call are in that category of that we're overachievers and that it's a friend that we're doing this contract for. They want us 20 hours a week, but gosh, we really want to do a good job and we want to prove ourselves, and so we're working 40 hours a week but we're only getting paid for 20, and now we're not having that extra 20 to keep looking for a job, and then the carpet gets pulled out from underneath us. So just make sure that when you're taking contract jobs, you're in control, it's your life, and that you stay by and stick to those boundaries.
And then regarding if you don't want to list your phone number, right? I put in the chat the Google Voice phone number that
Yep.
you can sign up for free.
Yep. 100%. And then let's go through. We talked about at the very beginning, Patty, that your network is your net worth. So the last piece of advice I want to give everybody is I want to talk about the prayer letter for just a minute. We're going to go over just a minute or two, but I think it's beneficial because I think it's a great tool. In the 16 years that I've been doing this, there's never been anybody that told me that it was a stupid idea. And I've gotten a lot of calls from people that said it was a game changer for me. So your network is your net worth. You all, everybody on this call, you've got a great network. Okay. You've got people that you've worked with, people that you've called on, people that you've met at conventions, people that you sat at next to on airplanes, people that called on you trying to sell you stuff. You know a lot of people in your network, friends, family as well. I want you to build an Excel spreadsheet with everybody's name on it. Put their email address and their phone number in that Excel spreadsheet. Today's the 17th of September. So take the rest of the month to build that Excel spreadsheet. Starting October 1st, I want you to consider now, you got to activate your network. So we call it activating your network because we want to let everybody know that you're actively looking. So now the next 30 days, I want you to reach out to everybody in your network. I want you to call them. I want you to call them and say, Diane, this is Kurt. You and I worked together. Remember at Dr. Pepper 7 Up? We had a lot of fun together back then. I'm actively looking. And some of the target companies, Diane, that I'm looking at this month include, and you give them 4 companies that you're looking for. Diane knows what you do. She knows that you're a sales and marketing person or you're a finance person or whatever. She knows you, right? So you don't have to tell her what you're doing, what kind of job you're looking for, or what kind of salary you're looking for. You just need to see if she knows anybody in the target companies that you're looking for. So if you leave her a voicemail, leave her that target companies. I'd love to catch up with you, Diane. If you've got 12 minutes in the next couple days, give me a shout. I always use queer numbers. Don't use 20 minutes. Diane and I haven't talked in 5 years, 10 years. She doesn't have 20 minutes for me. She hardly has 20 minutes to say goodbye to her kids in the morning. So ask for queer numbers. You have 9 minutes. You have 6 minutes that we can talk. I'd love to catch up. That'll be an attention giving mechanism to get you more calls, more interviews, more conversations. But then when you get Diane on the phone, again, just be transparent, have those target companies. You don't have to tell Diane what you do because she knows you well. You made all those phone calls in October. Now we go into November. And I'm going to tell you, you got to reach out to all those people again. But now you don't have another month to call all those people. So now we're going to activate what we call a prayer letter. All of you gotten the prayer letter before. It says, read this prayer 10 times in the next 10 minutes and send it to 10 people or you're going to die and go to hell. So in the job search world, and you can write this letter once and use it every month. So you might spend a day or two to write this letter, but don't toss it away. Save it because you're going to be able to use it every month. It says this. You take all those names that when you've got them on the phone, make sure you got their right email address because people change underwear like they change email addresses these days. So make sure you got their current email address or their personal email address. You take all those names, 250 of them, put them all into a BCC, no twos, no CCs, all into a BCC. In the subject line, it says, great people know great people. I continue to look for new work, new opportunities. And some of the target companies that I'm looking at this month include, and you give them 4 or 5 companies that you're looking at. If you or anybody in your network has contacts with these companies or companies like these, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. Feel free to forward this note on to anybody in your network. And then most importantly, if there's anything I can do for you or a friend, don't hesitate to call. I love staying in touch with my friends, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in 30 days. Okay. That email goes out without a, a resume. We never send resumes unless people ask for resumes. Resumes are game changers and they shut more doors than they're worth. So do not send a resume. And you send that note out every month. Okay. You never have to make those phone calls again. The first month, you'll probably get 60 to 70% of your network that sends a note back that says, gosh, I didn't know that you were still out. Thanks for keeping me posted. Um, Interesting, or, sorry to hear. I'll keep you in mind. But remember, when you were working and people called you, your attention span was very small because you had a lot of priorities on your desk. It was Thursday afternoon and you weren't going to work Friday. You were trying to figure out where you're going to take your wife to dinner tonight. But at the meantime, you know that she wants to talk about vacations. You don't want to take the family to Bermuda, but you're looking at Hawaii. All of these things are going around in your head at the same time, and you got a speeding ticket. And do you remember that Patty called you an hour ago to tell her that you're looking for a job? No. Okay. Doesn't mean that Patty's not a wonderful person and isn't great what she does, but I probably forgot about Patty. So you've got to constantly remind your network, and that's the way to do it is through a prayer letter. If you don't like that format, you feel intimidated by it, you're not a salesperson, you're a finance person, you're an accountant, you're an attorney, find somebody that's a sales and marketing person, tell them what you're thinking about doing, and then ask them if it's a good idea or ask them for advice in giving you a better way to communicate. But regardless, whatever you do, you've got to keep your network activated. If you do that, you will accelerate your search. And if you're doing it now, it's a great time. If you haven't started this, great time because as the market opens up in November, December, and January, you will be at the forefront of a lot of opportunities that you don't know about today.
Yeah, another question that came in, is there any way we can put our phone number that can be visible only to recruiters?
Nope. Sorry. But again, if you don't feel comfortable with the phone number piece of it, Google is a great second piece, or just give me your email address. Okay. But give me something other than just going through LinkedIn because you may be responding to 100% of the messages out there. But most recruiters don't want to continue to communicate with you on LinkedIn. They want to get you out of LinkedIn and into their own applicant tracking system or their own phone database or their own records. And so get them out of LinkedIn and start communicating via email. Just give them the email address. That's all you need to do. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Dinesh, I'm not sure what your question is. It says, what about the contact info part inside of LinkedIn?
Well, you can put that in there, but not everybody has visibility to it.
Right. It's only first level connections that
That's
have
correct.
visibility to it. So a recruiter is not connected to you. They're not going to be able to see your contact info.
That's correct.
So you need to have it in that about section, your phone number or and email there for them to contact you.
Hmm, great point.
Okay. All right. You want to make it easy. Right
Yeah,
now, you want recruiters to call you.
but the job search is hard enough as it is, right? Okay. And
Yeah.
so again, let's make it as easy as we can. We want, what I try to impose on candidates for them to make sure that they have the confidence and understanding is that you've got to have a lot of conversations in order to find that job. But it's a two-way street. Finding a job is like dating, okay? And none of us like dating, but you've got to kiss a few frogs before you figure out the one that you really want to marry or the one you want to date long term. And so the only way to do that is to have confidence and have conversations with as many companies as you can. And that's why if you use the prayer letter, it will accelerate those conversations and it'll give you the ability to have and talk to people that you want to talk to and the people that know where opportunities are that can make the introductions for you. Um, I don't mean to oversell this thing, but there was a candidate that worked for a company. He called me one day, and he had been the he had been the CFO of a family-owned business, a billion-dollar family business down in South Texas. Um, and he had started working for this family when he was 15 years old, and he was 48 years old, and he was the CFO. And the third generation decided they wanted somebody younger in that role. And he had never looked for a job. Many of you are in that role. Some of you have never had to look for a job, but he had never had to look for a job. Number one, he was a finance guy. Finance people are hard to train how to interview and how to be charismatic and how to talk about themselves. And it's not that they're bad people or not smart. It's not their DNA, and that's why they're in finance. It's okay. So this guy I met with him and I told him about the prayer letter, and he looked at me with, just a sheet of glass, like, you're serious. You want me to go do that? That's like making me do something I'm really uncomfortable with. Well, 4 months later, he called me and he said, Kurt, I would have never been able to do it without you. Thank you for putting me, challenging, making me do it because I got 6 job offers. Wow. In 4 months. Okay. So it does work. It accelerates the conversations. And don't wait and start this in January. Start it now and continue to add to the list. Okay. As I add David's name to the list, I don't have to, I've had a conversation with him. Now I put him on my email list. And next month, I'll grab his email address and he'll get my email. But it is a game changer. The people you don't hear for the first month, you may not hear from some people month 2, 3, 4, but it's because they don't have anything. They don't have anything for you. But your consistent leaning in will get their attention and they will eventually do what they can to help you in any way they can.
So a question that came in is I've heard several times to attach an updated resume when reaching out to our network. Kurt said not to, which is correct.
Do not send a resume. You are trying to create conversations. Without a doubt, anytime, never send a resume. You don't even know what you're sending it for. So, one of the things that we have the ability to do today, because we've got great technology, is we can revise our resume to make the changes to reflect what the company is looking for. So, why would I send Patty a resume if I don't know what she's looking for? But if I did know what she was looking for, I might be able to make some enhancements or changes to my resume to highlight the things that she's looking for. That so when she makes the introduction, it's a really easy introduction. Do not send resumes ever. Cover letters are equally as bad. People don't read cover letters. Use that technology, use that creativity in making a great opening statement in your note to the candidate to the person you're trying to communicate with. But um, that's my opinion. But do not send resumes.
Yeah, so another follow-up was that would you share a spotlight document? I guess that would be a bio, right? Not a
Could be.
resume for an
Yeah,
introduction.
yeah, that'd be fine. If you're trying to make an introduction, here's the best way to do it. Okay, now a lot of introductions, that's a big word and it can come in a lot of different varieties. Okay. So let me share with you the introduction that I'm talking about is that you meet with somebody. First of all, you meet with somebody that's unemployed. They're the best networkers in the world because they know what it's like. They know what it's like to get ghosted. They know what it's like to get rejected. They're really good at making introductions. But when you're networking with people that have a job, they're the worst networkers in the world because well, we talked about it earlier, they have a job, they've got a career, they've got great things going on. Okay. So when you're asking for Patty to make an introduction to Mike or David for me, I would say to Patty, hey, Patty, before you send a note off to David, let me send that note to you first. And I write the email and send it to Patty. So I highlight what I want Patty to focus on with David. Patty's elated because I just took all the weight of the world off of her because she doesn't have to figure out, remember, conjure what she wants to say about me. She just has to say, hey, I had a conversation with a colleague that I used to work with. He's a great guy. And you can see by some of the accomplishments he's had that it might be a candidate you might have talked to after our lunch. You were looking for a new VP, yada, 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 whatever. But you took all the work away from Patty. And now David is going to hear what Kurt wants David to hear, not what Patty decides to make up because she couldn't remember.
Mhm.
Okay. Make sense?
Yes, very well.
And
Yeah.
then should we remove our resume from LinkedIn if it's already
No,
uploaded?
no, no. Because it's a great place for us to go to. I don't put a lot of credence in it, Patty, only because I want an updated resume. And you're an active candidate. You would think they'd put an active or current resume up there, but you'd be amazed. So, and the second reason is I want to give a candidate the chance to make the revisions to the resume
Mhm.
to highlight the things that we want to highlight with the company. Okay. So sometimes most of the times I don't even have a resume, but even if I do, I will say to a candidate after we've been through and it's a good fit and we're talking about it, we like it, we're on salary range, everything's going really good in the conversation. I will say to a candidate, you've got the job description now. We just spent an hour talking about this role. There's things that are different about your resume that we've covered. Take a day and send me a resume that highlights what we want to focus on with our client. Okay. Nothing wrong with you as a candidate saying to a recruiter, you've got a resume in front of you that's mine, but can I have a day because what we've talked about has really been interesting, but I think we should highlight some different things in my resume because I want to make sure that your client sees these accomplishments first. Don't hesitate to do that. That's okay. You're not lying, you're not cheating, you're not stealing, you're not making anything illegal. Okay. But that's what you need to do. That's how aggressive you need to be.
I know we're nearly at time. There's just one other quick question for you, and it's in regards to, um, sorry, let me just look at it. Um, what is the best or most efficient way to revise your resume to reflect the various positions for which I want to apply?
Look at the job description. Make sure that your titles match. Okay. And
Mhm.
not without lying. Remember that the place you can't lie is on a job application. Okay. So you're filling out, you've got a resume. I don't want you to lie in your resume either. But what did I tell you earlier? If you are applying for an account manager role and your resume says vice president of account management, but everything in the job description is what you've done and what you like to do and what you're good at, but you've got a different title, before you get thrown out for this search, I would change my title to account manager instead of vice president. Okay. I'm using this as a drastic example, but I would do that. I'd make changes to make sure the titles reflect as closely the titles as we can of what the company's looking for. Secondly, I would make sure that I've read through and I've highlighted on that job description what's important to the company. What are they looking for? And then I would reflect that on my resume to make sure that I'm highlighting first, second, and third if I've done the work that they want me to do. In some cases, you might not even have it on your resume. They want somebody to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, wow, I don't have that on my resume, but I did that for 8 years at company XYZ. Well, now put it back in your resume. because they're going to be looking for it. Does that make sense? So those are the things that I want you to make modifications and change. And if you make those changes before you send it off to the recruiter, or before you put it into the applicant tracking system, your likelihood to get calls back are more likely than not.
Yep. Great. Thanks so much, Kurt, for all
Thank
this. I know
you.
we're at time. There's just so
Yeah.
much information, and it's always great when you're with us and you can share us your perspective because we're all job seekers. We're
Well,
trying to figure it out.
if I can help in any way, let me know.
Great. All right.
Okay.
So
Peace.
thanks everybody for joining today's call. I hope that you will join us on some other careerdfw.org sessions this week. And next week I will have Locke Alderson as my guest. Make sure you save the chat before you leave by clicking on the three dots. Or if you're on Windows 11, down at the bottom, there's a down arrow caret. You should be able to save it there. So thank you, everybody. I will be stopping the recording and giving you a minute before I end the meeting. All right. Thank you.
Mine's good.